All right, so this is what you're going to do in the activity. So first, you're going to watch the Introduction to Independence video, which you're currently watching, and this one's going to be a little bit longer than some of my other introduction videos. I'm going to be talking and doing a little bit of this lesson myself. Okay. Then you have the Independent Life video to watch, and then 5 Superb Ways to Be Fiercely Independent. It's a video. So you have these 3 activities to do, and then you're end of the lesson. So moving on. When we talk about independence, I feel like independence is a great thing for you to learn, okay? And that you need to continue to develop your independence. And I will say one of my goals within this class has been for you to become more independent, okay? And that you do not rely on me for your learning, okay? That has been one of my goals. Whether I achieved it or not, I'm not sure. In some ways you have, in other ways you haven't, okay? And that's kind of what's going on. And so it reminds me of the whole pandemic and e-learning, and we're more worried about this thumbs down right here. I'm gonna give you some of my opinions on e-learning. And here's why, and I'm going to minimize this real quick so you can see me a little bit better. So I feel like I know a little bit about e-learning because I have my master's in it. Okay, right here is my degree. Okay, right here I have a diploma saying that I know e-learning stuff. Okay, this is my master's. Okay, and it scares me that we go to e-learning, we're using e-learning because I feel that independence, okay, students' independence is waning, okay? You aren't as independent as what students your age were 10, 15, 20 years ago, and that there have things that have gone on, okay, that allow things and made education change. And so for us to be going to a bunch of e-learning without independent learners, because e-learning is all about the independent, okay? If you're not independent enough to get on and do your activity, you struggle with e-learning. So when we went to all this e-learning, it was like a horrible, bad idea in the short term, but I understand why we did it. And so I'm not necessarily saying, but to say that e-learning is a long-term solution, I'm not sure I can agree with. It's a band-aid until we were able to figure out how to do a much better blended learning system, okay? And the reason is that I'm going to say I got juniors and seniors, and I'm going to say 90 to 95% of my class is mature and independent enough to do e-learning. And I got juniors and seniors. And the younger the kid, the less they have to do with e-learning. Okay, least amount of independence they have with their learning. And that's just a bunch of teacher stuff. And here's another teacher example. Okay, so one of the things that I really try to do with my class is what's called student agency. And I don't really talk a whole lot about it. It's just kind of out there. And it's more about this assertiveness, initiative, problem solving, and adaptability and preservations. Okay? So agency in a nutshell is me wanting my students to own their learning. Okay? And I have said it time and time again. I want my students, okay? I want my students to, I want you to own your learning, because the learning is the most important part, not the teaching, okay? And I have said, I know I said it at the beginning of the year, and you may not remember it, but I have said, it's your education, own it, because whether you learn something or not isn't on me, it's on you. Okay, and that is the part of the agency, and why I feel and have tried to make you an independent learner within this class, because I know in the future you're going to have to be. Okay? You're going to have to be. Okay? So moving on to the next thing is, there was a quote, I don't know, 6 years ago that came out from the it was from the South Carolina men's basketball coach, and he said it during the Final Four when he took the South Carolina team, who wasn't supposed to be in the Final Four, to the Final Four. And he goes, you know what makes me sick to my stomach? When I hear grown people say that kids have changed. Kids haven't changed. Kids don't know anything about anything. We've changed as adults. We demand less of kids. We expect less of kids. We make their lives easier instead of preparing them for what life is truly about. We're the ones that have changed. And he says that, and as a teacher and a coach, you know what? He's right. Okay? Our expectations of kids have changed. And so we, as adults, are not preparing you to be independent and to do what you need to do to be successful. Not all parents. I will say not all parents. But there are a lot of parents in here and I'm part of this is saying is that at some point I hope you can be a parent and you can understand that role is kind of the goal, is that you want your student to be independent. You want your child to be independent. And that marking success on parenting, one of the key aspects of that is the fact that your kids don't move back home. So one thing that's kind of occurred, it started when I graduated from college, but it's become more and more predominant. And there are other aspects to it, don't get me wrong. But kids are graduating from college, and you know what the first thing they're doing is? Moving back in with mom and dad, because they're not independent enough to embrace the work world or the non-educational world. Because I always hate when people say that education isn't the real world. Well, it's the real world to me. It's the real world to you. It's the real world. It's just not your real world. Okay? And so we start and we have issues with preparing our students and our kids to be independent, and that you need to do your best to be independent. Because if we think about it, I'm going to have to change pictures real quick because you can't see me. Okay? And as you think about it, as you get a job, and one thing I said is I don't want to prompt you to work, and we did that, and I talked about that a lot in my class, that you're here and you're a professional, you're expected to get right to work. But it comes back to your boss is going to see that too. And that's the type of person that they want, is that somebody that's going to come in, do their work, do their job, and isn't going to need somebody looking over their shoulder post-training. Okay? Post-training. And not to say that you're not going to ask for help, because there are going to come times where you're going to need help, and you're going to have to ask a boss. But in the real world, or in the workplace world, you have to be independent. If you're going to succeed in life, you're going to have to be independent. Yeah, times you're going to need to have help, but you're not going to need somebody to continually be taking care of you. You can handle those on your own. Okay? Moving on to one of my most famous quotes I've ever heard, and it just stuck with me. And I know it's true, and I've seen it develop in you guys. Okay? And it came when I was at a track coaching clinic. And I think it's so true with people development, okay, including parenting, teaching, and coaching. The job of a coach is to take the athlete from dependent to independent. That makes a lot of sense. And as I can think about it, and I had to do that a lot, I had to train my athletes to do what I want. For example, before a race, you gotta warm up, you gotta have your heart rate up, you gotta have blood in your legs, okay? And it didn't matter what sport, you gotta do that. Well, you have to take a young athlete and teach them how to go about properly doing that so they are prepared. So by the time they leave you, they are, by the time they leave you, they are ready to succeed without you because you've laid that foundation. They know what they need to do. And in the educational world, maybe it's figuring out how to shut off their phone during class. If you haven't figured that out, or how to put your phone away, or how to shut up other new YouTube videos, that is where you struggle, okay? And you have to continue to try to develop that. There's one other book that, and I'm a reader, if you guys didn't know, I read a fair amount. There's another book that sticks in my mind that talks a lot about it. It's called The Gift of Failure. Okay? And this, I don't expect you to go read either one of these books, but I want to say this is where you got to remember, and you got to start maybe advocating for yourself on this. Okay? And they talk, and this is one story that this mom and teacher started talking about. She had two stories I'll talk about real quick. Is it right or wrong to let your kid fail 10-year-old in loading the dishwasher? You know, maybe your kid didn't load, maybe if you don't know how to load the dishwasher at your house, you need to learn it. That's just me on my soapbox. But the point she was making is, if you can't do simple things like load the dishwasher right, because, you know, if you load it wrong and nothing's clean, well, you failed. Well, then you gotta go make adjustments and do it again and learn how to load the dishwasher. And so the point is that just because it's easier for the parent to do it doesn't make the child independent. And so if you're not independent and you can't do something like load the dishwasher, okay, that is the parent not being a parent, okay? So that's just something to put out there. One other story she told is she had like a 3rd grade to 5th grade kid, maybe somewhere in there, maybe 6th grade. They forgot their homework. She found their homework on the counter after the child got on the bus. And you know what? She had a choice. She could go save her kid and take them their homework without them asking, okay? Or she could go do this. Kid forgot their homework. That's their fault, not mine, okay? That's their fault, not mine. And so what they do is they allowed the kid to either scramble, figure it out, and take ownership and be independent. So my point is back to you guys as I talk about some of these different ideas and concepts, is you yourself need to be independent. If you're going to be successful in the workplace, or you need to be successful in life, independence is key. Figure out and develop independence. All right, thanks guys.